Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Saints Monday Night Football, nation's biggest stage this weekend in Kansas City to take on the defending world champion Chiefs. Blair Kerkhoff is a sports writer for the Kansas City Star. And I don't know if there's a much better place to be a sports writer these days. Royals looking good, and the Chiefs are always looking good, it seems. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Blair, how are you?
I'm doing great. And in addition to Chiefs and Royals, we've got the Missouri Tigers and the Kansas State Wildcats still in the top 25. So you're right. These are pretty heady times to be in the sports business around here.
That's always a lot of fun. Missouri's got a big one down in College Station coming up this weekend. We'll see how that one goes. But we want to talk Saints and Chiefs, so let's do so. It's been an interesting start from afar for the Kansas City Chiefs this year because they're winning, but they're really close, and they're finding a way to win games at the end. What's the feel around that organization? I would imagine the fan base is just saying, hey, we trust these guys. They'll get it done if it's not the prettiest thing we've ever seen. Is that the way it looks right now?
Yeah, kind of. I think you're right about that. That there's still a lot of faith and trust in the Chiefs, even if they're not piling up the style points in these victories. There's still concern about the offense. They've had some pretty significant injuries. Seems like there's one a week for this team, but in the end, they're finding a way to get it done. Their defense is playing so well, so it's not the way the fans are used to seeing the Chiefs win, especially in the earliest years of Patrick Mahomes. But as long as there's a zero on the other side of that dash, they're okay with it.
Rashee Rice goes down. That's one of the injuries that you're talking about. What does that mean for Kansas City?
Yeah, that was a big blow that occurred in the first quarter of the game against the Chargers last weekend. He'd gotten off to such a great start, 24 receptions, almost 300 yards receiving in the first three games, and then he collided with Mahomes trying to make a tackle after a Mahomes interception and injures his right knee. And we thought initially that he had perhaps torn an ACL, and which would have put him out for the year, but the team's backing off of that a little bit, and they're kind of in a wait-and-see mode. We were in the locker room today, and Rice was in there with a sleeve on his right leg, but not on crutches and walking around. So there's definitely some swelling on his knee. They'll get more tests and have more of a definitive answer next week. He certainly won't play Monday night, and I suspect he'll be out for several weeks. But the Chiefs are, they're going to have to make do with what they have on the roster because they don't have the cap space to go out and get to make a big deal for a wide receiver. And I'm not sure I'm sure of this. It hasn't been their MO in recent years. They've gotten a receiver at the trade deadline, but last season it was McCole Hardman who was returning to the Chiefs after spending some time with the Jets, and 2 years ago, it was Kadarius Toney, and he's no longer with the team. So they haven't made a big splash in trying to obtain a receiver after the season has started, and I don't think that's going to be the case this time either.
Travis Kelce's production is a little bit down. Is there a reason for that?
You're right, it is. Until last week, he had 7 receptions for 89 yards in his best game of the season. The popular answer is, he's become his own enterprise with his acting pursuits and his girlfriend and everything else that's occurred off field for him in the last year, which is really remarkable. But I think the Chiefs will tell you that in the first 3 games anyway, a lot of the production that Kelce would have gotten in previous years was actually going to Rashee Rice, the types of pattern, the routes, the yards after the catch, those types of things. Rice was doing what Kelce had done, and then Rashee Rice goes down on Sunday, and Kelce steps in and ends up having the big game. So the bigger surprise to me is he hasn't gotten to the end zone yet, and he's not a touchdown maker the way, say, Tony Gonzalez used to be for the Chiefs, but he was always good for, 6, 7, 8 touchdowns a year, and through 4 games, he hasn't been there yet.
Blair Kerkhoff's our guest. Kansas City Star Sports Writer will be Saints and Chiefs coming up Monday night from Arrowhead. Last one on the offensive side. I could ask you a million questions about how brilliant Patrick Mahomes is, but the interceptions have kind of been something that's been interesting to folks. He's turned the ball over in every game thus far. Has there been a common theme there?
No, you're right. It has been a little eye-opening. He's had stretches in his career where he's gone on a bit of an interception binge. I think there was one time a few years ago he had a pick in 7 straight games. But the reason he's the number 2 all-time rating quarterback is because he keeps those interception numbers down. I would say that the fact that offense is down throughout the NFL, except for the Saints for the first 2 games of the season. But for the most part, offensive numbers are down across the NFL, and the Chiefs are part of that. They've also had to adjust a little bit. They lost a wide receiver they were really counting on in Hollywood Brown, injured in the first preseason game, their biggest offseason acquisition. They lost their starting running back, Isaiah Pacheco, after a couple of games. So they're dealing with some pieces that they weren't expecting, or dealing without pieces that they were expecting to have. But Mahomes will just flat out tell you he hasn't played well. He just has not had the best start of his career through 4 games. And, it's got to the point where when I see him dropping back, I used to think, okay, this is going to be delightful. How is this going to turn out? What kind of 30-yard gain are we going to be in store for here? Or you kind of have a bad feeling. There was a play 2 weeks ago when the Chiefs were in Atlanta. The end of their first possession was a Mahomes interception in the end zone. And in years past, I would shake my head, but now it's just like, yeah, I've seen it before. It's happened with a little more regularity. I think the Chiefs are going to win the game, but this was a bad pick for Mahomes. It just happens more often these days.
They're winning a lot of games. Their defense is excellent. What would you call the strength of the Chiefs' defense at this point?
Yeah, it is. It is excellent, and the strength is absolutely Chris Jones in the middle. Defensive tackle, but he lines up at defensive end. He lines up where he wants, basically, when he's in the game. And he is just become such a money rushing defensive lineman. He 3rd and long with the game on the line. And he is, he's back there at the quarterback. He is so disruptive. He had a couple of sacks last week against the Chargers, but the biggest play he made was on a 4th and short when down in the red zone, and totally disrupted a Los Angeles play. I think he should be a leading contender for Defensive Player of the Year, at least through the first quarter of the season. But they're good on all levels. Look, they lost Willie Gay to the Saints. They lost L'Jarius Sneed to the Tennessee Titans, and they have managed replacements have managed to step in and pick up the slack left there. So no, they're just all around solid on defense, and their coordinator Steve Spagnuolo, with his 4 Super Bowl rings, is you'll get any of the guys in New Orleans, Tyrann Mathieu, Tano Passanio, Willie Gay Jr. They'll all tell you what an impact defensive coordinator they have here in Steve Spagnuolo.
No question. And last one here, Blair, we appreciate your time. With Spagnuolo's approach here, the Saints are going to certainly be without their starting center, who's their best offensive lineman, and maybe without their starting guard, and Cesar Ruiz. Trevor Penning is a question at one of the tackles as well. So how aggressive do you expect Steve Spagnuolo to be with Derek Carr coming up on Monday?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely going to be the case. That's what the Chiefs were in a similar situation a week ago with the Chargers were missing both of their starting offensive tackles, and they really did turn on the heat against LA. I love the start that Derek Carr's off to, though. He's very familiar with the Steve Spagnuolo defense and playing at Arrowhead Stadium. He's won here, obviously, so I'm happy for him and the start that he's off to. And I was so he was the MVP after a couple of games this season. But yeah, I do think you're going to see a very aggressive Chiefs defense on Monday night.
Good times to be in Kansas City. Blair Kerkhoff's all over it with the Kansas City Star. We appreciate a little bit of time. Enjoy the weekend, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.